Okay. Got like 2 minutes or so of ads left. I'm going to let them do their thing. All right. I forgot that doesn't connect to that. And you go here and done. Great. All right. 1.5 minutes of ads. Ads, ads, ads. Okay. All right. Have some coffee here. Reorganize and tilt my mic so that it's better off. Yeah, good enough. I swear I'm considering just turning off the whole monetization thing altogether and just wait until like the day that more people are watching to make it financially worthwhile. Because honestly, having ads is really just not doing me any good. That I'm aware of. Haven't gotten a payout or anything yet, so get in there. Yeah, I guess that'll work. I was gonna say, why is it not so loud? Because I don't have it turned up. I'll turn this guy down to a low hum. Actually, I'd like to have some acoustic music, but I don't want to have all the Christmas stuff. But finding that is just a nightmare. A nightmare. I want some acoustic. And I don't want there to be singing. I just want it to be the audio. Just a guitar, please. Playlists. Rock. See, that's just going to give me regular music. Yeah, I just keep it the way it is. Just keep it quiet. All right. Are ads done? Yes, I think they're finally done. All right. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing today? My name is Bear. I'm barely watercoloring. I have this out, but I'm not starting with this. This is where I left off on Voyager after it's dried. Um, it looks nice. However, there is a lot of lightness in some areas. So I'm kind of like, what am I going to do? Trying to decide if I want to do another pass over the top of it with indigo in some areas. Hi, guys. Welcome in. How you doing today? I'm trying to decide if I wanted to have like some darker indigo in some other areas, but I have from experience know that if I try to do a second pass of indigo over this somewhere, somehow, there's going to be some hard edges. And if I try to darken up some of the areas around here, I'm going to leave edges because I want to keep the glows intact that I worked so hard to try to get in here. So I'm probably going to leave this alone and just say this area of space is lighter in color because I'm approaching a nebula and these are gas clouds or something like that, or dust clouds, something, right? And then some rare spots, some pure dark space is sneaking in. So that's probably how I'm going to leave it, is like this. But when I get to it in a minute, probably, probably going to do a tiny bit of touch up on this nebula because I kind of messed up a little with the really thinned out indigo. I went over the edges of it and I don't like how it looks. It kind of muddied the hell out of it right here. And it took away some of the brightness of it. Um, but it's okay. It's still a thing. It still can work. I'm probably gonna just do a hint of some colors in some spots to try to brighten it up a little bit, and then leave it the hell alone. Maybe make these look a little more dust cloud-like if I can, but if not, then I'm gonna leave it. And then we will look at adding some of the warp lines. So we're gonna figure out a process to figure out the perspective and figure out a way to figure out the angle, like an angle finder of some way, to figure out what the lines are going to be across the whole length of this. so that I can draw in the warp lines uh, in a pretty way, right? And then get some stars on it, faint, dark, different sizes, maybe a few different colors. Try to shy away from having the big ones in this area. I may do some very fine stars that may be more like dust or moons or just some sort of lit debris, uh, just very faintly in a couple spots over in here, because in Star Trek space, there's always something between you and the destination. But have thicker, brighter, more obvious stars as we get away from the potential dust cloud nature of that. And that's if we get to that today. We'll see how we get. We may do just a piece of that. And then in the future, sometime soon after that, once we have all the outer part done, we'll peel back all of the stuff on Voyager. And I was thinking about that. When I do this, I'm going to try to identify anything that is in view that might be able to show a reflection of the light from this nebula over here. And when I'm painting in the first one or two layers of the ship, I'll try to get like the hull colors and try to get like the leading edge of the ship up here in front, and maybe the front of the nacelles, the front of the wing on the back where the engine nacelles are, and maybe get all of those things like the front part of the bridge. Try to get all of those have some hint of the colors from the nebula, and then we fade to neutral lit values for some of the other bits, maybe the sides, and then pull some shadows back behind the ship where we can get away with it to show that the most light is coming from the nebula in front of us, but there's still some starlight from what's around us hitting surrounding areas on the ship. Is my plan. Whether or not I'm capable of pulling that off is a totally different story, but I'm gonna try. All right, so I'm gonna get that to the side here in a second. And yeah, sorry, that was really loud. I just did this number with this stack right here over on the table, and it was just really loud. I'm gonna scoot these over here because I don't really need them. I might just throw them away because I don't really need them anymore. A pencil I need to put up. Where did I have that stuck in there? Was it here? It's what it's gonna be. And I need this right here, and I'm gonna trade. You can go back over here. All right. I don't really need the inks just now, so I'm gonna put those up. Don't need this palette right now. Don't need this guy. I can put him up sometime. And this is what we're left with. This is what I ended with last time. Sorry. Let me have some coffee. Okay. Move my water over. Open up my palette. Okay. Yeah, that's mostly good. And I'm just gonna kind of freehand this. I don't think I'm gonna tape this down. I'm just gonna kind of do what I ended with and just pick some random mixes of colors and just do little blobbies, just like random shapes, just little circles or blobs or misshapen little things, and just let them dry or make them dry. And then do like these, draw them like fill in the borders, make little faces on them, just do weird little things on each of them and just fill up the page with a bunch of it just for fun, just some loose practice. Because I find that I have been, well, I can't say I find, I know this, but also everyone around me notices when I am being a total jerk to myself about myself, and just putting myself down, and just being negative about it. And I need to try to not be quite so bad with that. Goddess, you've said it. My other half has said it. I hear, I accept, I agree. It's just my instinct to put myself down sometimes. And I know that's not what anybody wants to hear coming on here. So I'm going to try to be a little more upbeat, or at least find a better way to recognize and say how I feel that doesn't sound so downtrodden like the end of the world, because it's not really. So forgive me if I go that way. Try to warn me, like, hey, you're starting to do that thing. I'll be like, oh my gosh, you're right. Thank you. Just let me know. I promise to try not to take offense to it. All right. So, oh, what else was I doing? Well, let me go see if it finished. So anyone that has heard recently, I have mentioned that for Christmas, pre-Christmas, post-Christmas, whatever, I've got a collection of Daniel Smith watercolors here or coming. Uh, so what I did, I'm going to look at this and see if it came out before I even talk about it. Let's see. Open. Well, it did somewhat what I wanted, but it didn't do all of it. I may have to have it tweak this. So what I did is, let me scoot around the screen and I can show you. Uh, where is meld? Right there, and that one. Okay. So I went ahead and gave a collection of information to ChatGPT. Some of them are like, are you going to open? Better question. Are you going to open where I want you to? What is happening here? Close. Stop this. Don't be this way. That's not what I wanted. No. Is it? No. I need this one. Open, and I don't care what you open it in. Just open it in something that I can share, please. That works. All right. So this is a list of all of the colors in the sets that I'm getting. I said that wrong. It's the entire lineup, and I'm only getting a small selection, 33 colors to be exact. Some are duplicates out of this huge, like 100 count set, right? But this has a lot of really great information on it. So I wanted to be able to combine some of this information along with the list of colors that I'm getting. So I gave it a link to the Amazon page for each paint that I got in each set, as well as a picture of either the tubes with the names on them or the backs of the packages or a screenshot of the page from Amazon that has the list of paints on it. So it could scrape those images and sites and whatnot for the names. So I don't have to go find them and type them out and find out myself if they're duplicates, which I could do, but it would just be time consuming, right? So I asked it to go through and make me like a swatch card in a way that has all the information, granularity, how staining it is, how transparent it is, and so on. And then apparently LAB is a known color spectrum, so you can find out what every color is based on that. And it shows details about the name and what pigments they are, and like a hex value representation of the color, not obviously painted, but just the actual hex value. I need to tweak it so that it tries to put it all on one page for me so I can use it to compare against. But it did a pretty good job of identifying everything. I need to check it for accuracy because some things might not be correct. Like I see lunar black here, but I don't know if I had that. Oh no, I think I did. And here's indigo. So everything seems to be here, but I'll double check it. And then once I have a full sheet here and I can be satisfied that the information on it matches and is correct, when I actually set up my palette, I will be referring to it and possibly reorganizing it in a way that makes sense for the color spectrum. And then this is close. I might just leave it the way this is because I asked it to organize it and it mostly did. Anywho, and then I will make my own actual painted swatch card that I can refer to. That will be just the name and the swatch. And this is going to be the more detailed information about my palette. So I figured that's kind of cool to have information because people ask me about this sometimes, and none of my other paints really have this information, and the Daniel Smith stuff does. So hopefully this will help, provide some answers and some learning for myself. All right, enough yammering about that. Let me close that and close this, and everything looks good. Yeah. And if the background here looks a little too dark, let me know and I'll brighten the light up above it. But I lessened it the other day so it wasn't quite so blinding. Because when it's really bright, you can't see any like handwriting or pencil sketches on things. So I'm trying to get good at adjusting that. All right. So more coffee, and then let's get to figuring out what we're going to do. Um, Before I drink that, let me wet the palette down so that it's at least ready to roll. Yeah, it'll be nice. I'll have 33 possible paint colors, which I didn't realize it was that high. But I don't have 33 wells in the new palette. So I'm going to have to sacrifice some or find an alternative way to have access to them. I already thought before that, hang on, excuse me. I already thought before that I would put the most likely colors that I would use, and anything that is like a close to what close to a different color, like within a shade or two, I might not put on the palette. And then just have it at the ready to the side because it could be that I've got a magenta that leans a little more red, and then another one that's more neutral, and then another one that's more blue. But I might only want to put the blue one on there and the red one, or I might want to put only the neutral and leave the other two off. So that's something we're gonna have to plan when I get the other paint set that's missing. It hasn't arrived yet, and we'll figure it out. I just don't want to do what I have already early before that other set arrives, and it's pretty late getting here. Um, I think that's the only one that's coming from China, and so there's no tracking on it. And Amazon's just like, it was expected to get here on the 27th. Oh, it didn't get here. Well, it might get here by the 15th or 16th of January. Good luck with that. So I can't dispute anything really just yet. I mean, I could, but I want to make sure that, I give them the best chance for it to arrive first before I say, you know what, just can you just wipe that sucker out and replace it with the one that'll get here in 2 days? Because I don't want to wait anymore. And I already paid for it. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. If it starts getting stupid long, like another week, I'm just going to say, scrap it and send me a replacement. And if I end up with two of them in the future because of it, so be it. Because I want to get that palette made, man. I want to start working on the new palette and I want to see what they look like in person instead of on images. So that'll be pretty cool. Okay. That is doing its thing. Everything should be getting hydrated. Um, oh, and there's something else I have that I want to show that I don't really have a use for yet, but I will at some point. Check this out. Uh, The program that I use, Meld Studio for streaming, over the holidays, they added a bunch of new widgets. And one of the things they added is this, a actual wheel that I can spin. So I can actually take it and have to select it. And I can do wheel spins and it will show like what it lands on, right? Isn't that neat? So I can go through and I can like create a list. I don't have to go off this. I had ChatGPT give me a list of possibilities. Um, and let me reload it and see if it shows up properly. Yeah. So some of them, there's so many that some of them run off the edge of the wheel. Uh, but ultimately, it's just a list of here's some possible quick things that you can paint. When you're in a hurry, and I'm like, oh, I'm only an hour and a half in, and I want to spend another 30 minutes doing something, but I don't know what. We can put things on this list and have like a quick way to randomize and choose some of these options. That's all this really is for. If you ever have suggestions, feel free in the section below my channel where it has all the cards. One of them is a suggestion box. Feel free to put suggestions in there if you like. And I will try to remember to go back there and look at it and add those things to this list. And then we can one day randomly spin and it might come up and we'll try to give it a whirl and see how it comes out. And it can also lead to bigger and better things. It could be a sample thing that we try that we've never done before and it might come out like garbage. And that's just a challenge to come back and try it again later and do it better. So, all right. What are we going to do? We're going to do random shapes. So let me get this here. I think I'm going to see if I can zoom in just a little bit. Yep. And that way you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Not quite so much airspace around my desk. Okay. So let's go ahead and I think there's a variety of ways to do this. I think I'm going to do what I did for these guys. I'm going to put the little blobs of water down first. So I'm just going to just pick a random spot and put a blob of water down. It can be misshapen. It can be anything we want it to be, right? And then I'm going to pick some colors. Last time I did some red, green, yellow, and then some blue and purple. So let's try something a little different. Let's try maybe some of this, like yellow ochre kind of color, and just dot it in here and let it do its thing. And then maybe we grab some of this dragon's blood I've got left over on the palette from the other day. Okay. Oh, what else can we add in there? Little tiny bit of some purplish color. All right. I'll just let that sit there. Tilt it a little. All right. And let's make another little colorful little circle. And let's pick on some orange. Man, that color, that water just disappears on there. There we go. All right, maybe some reddish color along with it. All right, dry my brush off. Sometimes I'm not going to fill out the whole circle, and I guess it's a good thing because it'll leave it kind of fuzzy. So I'll let some of those be. Let's just get some more circles on here. All right, let's go greenish this time for this guy. Go a little darker green. Grab some yellow. Add some of that in there. Okay. And it's one of those moments where I need a light in front of me shining at the paper so I can see water. I need to figure out what to do for that sometime. I think that'll be a good way to see the water. I think, because if I turn on my light on my phone and go here, so I can't do it right on the surface, it disappears. But if I go about here, I start seeing it, but I only see it when the direct light is right in front of the water. If I go even a little bit to the side, it disappears. So what I might need to do is either move the light box that I've got above me at some point closer to the window and shining toward me. That's actually an idea. So if I turn it like this and I look back here, no, it still doesn't show up. Not unless it gets really low. So yeah, it's something I have to experiment with and figure out options for. I'll try that sometime. All right, let's grab some blues. Cat. Mm, more indigo. Okay. And let's make some more. I realize I'm doing a little bit too grid-like, so I might need to do some offset circles here. Let's do some yellow in that one. How and what can go against that? Let's do some of this darker indigo in here. That always ends up looking really cool when they blend. I think I need to hit with some more yellow to offset it a little bit. Get in here. Ah, that weird static thing was back. I heard it for a second. Okay. Let's grab some more water. Let's do one in the middle. Do some weird stuff in the middle here too. And let's do a tan color over here. And some greens. And some of that yellow and orange. I had green on there still, so it just sopped up all the green. Let me get that out of there. Let's put it over here. A little red. Okay. And just get some more circleage and shapes over here. We'll have to use green gold for a little bit. Let's put some of that in there. I love how it looks kind of yellow if you go kind of faint with it, but the heavier you go with the green gold, the more the greenish color comes out. It gets like, if you get really like buttery with it, like really sick, it turns like almost like a military, like army jeep kind of green color. It's really interesting. And what goes with that? I haven't done this green too much yet. Let's add some of that over here. And some of this one. I didn't get any of it. There we go. All right. And let's make ourselves some more circle shapes. Let's go red with that. And some of the violet. And maybe some blue. Mm. Okay. More circle. Let's do some big ones in here too. They don't have to be all small. Okay. And let's go Russian blue, I think. And let's try some of this. This one yellow I've got, the one that's got that honey as a binder. Just go a little thick with that and hit it from this side. All right, I'll let that sit there and think about what it did. Let's do some others down here. All right, get some green. I have like a little connector thing going on here. Maybe add some yellow. All right, I just let that sit there. You know you're gonna, you can follow me wherever I go. Like he's my big friend. Circulus. I don't know, stepping on pins and needles. Okay. Okay. New circle. Whoops. That's pretty. How that orange blooms like that. All the orange I'm going to do in there. Let's get some red. Put a little of that. Okay. Excuse me. Right. Let's put some stuff in here. Let's go back to our green. And that. And maybe some blue. I'll add that over here. Okay, I'll leave that one alone. New circle. I'll do a couple small ones because we've been going pretty heavy on the big ones. Excuse me. I'm having that this season hitting me with a little bit of throat tickle. So sorry if I cough without planning to mute. Sometimes it just hits and I can't really stop it. Thankfully, I haven't gotten sick this season yet, but I mean, let's not jinx it. Okay. Have some indigo. Clean that more, please. It's not stuck to the bottom anymore. Get down there. Yeah, I let these sit here for too long, and the little cleaner silicone thing has come up from the bottom and lose their suction. Just have to press them back down again, and they're fine. Okay. There we go. Let's grab some water and go over here. All right. And there's some more ribs. Okay. Okay. Maybe let's tie these guys together with a little bit of some yellow. Yeah, I just let it figure out what it's going to do. Okay. Let's do a nice big blob over in this corner. Just a huge boy. Well, we've connected the two, so let's just see how that flows down in there now. Fingers and I made the mistake of going right to my rinse water a couple times instead of wiping my brush off on the paper towel. And now my rinse water is filthy. We'll have to mess with that in a minute. All right, maybe hit that with something else. On the third of me. Okay. And then let's clean it off really good. Get some of this yellow. Okay. Let's do the old Tilterino again. All right. Fresh water. How you doing today, goddess? Hope you're doing all right. Having a good Monday, I hope. I'm happy because I realized last week it's kind of silly. So last week for work, I worked on Friday after Christmas, and I could have taken it off, but I didn't. And this week, New Year's also falls on Thursday. And so I was going to have to work Friday unless I asked for it. And I thought, well, I just asked for it. And my boss was like, yeah, I did the same thing. Go ahead. Like, it was super easy. And it's not like, I don't want to abuse, my options. But at the same time, when I take my vacation, I usually take like a week off and then I work, for months. And then every now and then I'll take like a day to have like a 3-day weekend. And it's incredibly rare where a holiday falls on a Thursday, especially like three of them back to back, basically. Thanksgiving's always on Thursday, but Christmas and New Year's also on Thursday this year. So it gives a lot of potential for 4-day weekends, and I don't always take advantage of that. And I thought, why am I killing myself? Nobody's going to have anything planned to do that day, and that can be available for emergencies. So why don't I just ask? And it was so easy to just ask and get it. It was really nice. My boss is a really cool guy, so it really helped out. Um, he's just a thoughtful dude. So wow, I like how some of these are drawing. Let's do some more yellow. Okay, and let's pick something really obtuse. Maybe we try to do some mixes because I've not been doing that. Um, maybe make our orange mix. Really, I'm gonna have to rinse out my rinse cup when I'm done with this. Okay, let's get some of the zest yellow, mix it here, and add our little orange blend. Okay, and we'll let that mix and do its own thing. Right, and now let's get some more clean water, and I'll do a little guy down here. Let it touch the yellow so we get some of that in there too. Okay. And Maybe go green again. Okay, maybe some blue. I think blue would go on there really nice. Let's do this one. Be really dark and weird, doesn't it? Okay. Very stilt it. Okay. And leave it alone. And clean. Do that blue one there. Do some orange on this side of it. And some red. Do some red on this side of it. Go a little darker with it. Okay. Orange just kind of disappeared. Let's add a little more back to it. Okay. Same deal. Do the little tilt-a-ray. Let that settle. Think about what it did. And let's add some more. Another owl shape or something seems kind of useful. And let's go nuts with the blue. Right. And let's go straight for the violet. Right. And let's go yellow. Clean this off, and I'm going to clean up some of what fell into this yellow and bring it up with it. So I clean up my yellow and use it at the same time. And let's put a bunch of it all in here where it's really wet. And then let's tilt this sucker and see how these merge together after I clean my brush up. Was everybody's Christmas all right? Hope y'all had a really good one. Whether you celebrated or not, I hope the holiday itself was peaceful for you. Mine was all right, so I have got no complaints. Okay, I'm gonna let that just sit and think about what it did. Let's do some others. Greeny. Some blue. Some really dark blue. Get some of the green from here. Okay. Let's go circle here, a little connecting tunnel. And let's go with some of the tan, the yellow ochre color. And let's get some of the dragon's blood. I really haven't used a lot of it, weirdly. Put it here. And let's get those guys merging together. Just let it kind of flow back and forth. Hey, Desert. Welcome in. Mine was busier than I wanted, but that happens most years. Happy to hear you asked and received. It would be good to have a rare Friday to yourself. Yeah, it'll be nice to have a 4-day weekend. I don't do enough of those. So it's like a vacation without being a big vacation. Like I already had one given day, I already had 2 given weekends, and I'm just asking for the 1 day, really. So it's nice to get some time off back to back. It'd be nicer to have enough time off to where I start forgetting passwords to things, so that never happens. One, because I usually remember all my passwords, and two, because I've never gone long enough to not reuse them again. Or be called, hey, help, there's an emergency situation. Can you help look at blah, 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 blah? I get that. And those are nice. Ha ha ha. Hell yeah. It's nice to have those vacation days when you can get them. So I have a circle up here. Maybe let's go wild with that one because we've got like a big area to fill in. So let's go crazy with it. Let's do a huge one up here. And let's go kind of roidy bit. Let's do some red. And a little orange. Some yellow. Okay. Some green. Okay. Get some blue. Get a little indigo. And let's do our violet. Okay. I'm just gonna leave that alone. I'm not gonna touch it. Nice, but also panic when I forget a password. It isn't coming back like ever. It seems. I get that. Um, that's why. So I forget the name of the theory for it. If you work in IT, maybe you've seen it, you know it. So there's a process to make secure passwords that don't have to be complicated. Instead of trying to do like a huge alphanumeric with symbols and all that, and just a password you'll never in a million years remember, um, use a system where you do 4 words. Any password system that accepts only letters will work for this, and do 4 easy to remember to you words that have no relation to each other. Like I can look in front of me and be like, brush, glass, paint, screen. And that can be my password. And nobody is going to be able to figure out what that is. And you don't want them to be huge words because, again, you want to remember them and keep it semi small. But it's going to be very difficult for anyone to randomly figure out a lengthy password of 4 words back to back because, at minimum, it's going to be 12 characters if you do 3-letter words. And if you do 5-letter words, you can end up with like a 20 character length password, which would take a very long time to hack. So most things that works really well. And you have a better chance of remembering your password. Doesn't mean you can or you will. Um, because again, end of day, you're human and a random hodgepodge of words that might be easy to remember are going to be really hard. Because yeah, you don't remember the format, right? You forget what the format of password creation is called though. Yeah, I saw it in a cartoon strip. There was like some like geeky cartoon strip that someone shared with me at work that had that process in it. And I'm like, wow, I guess that's really smart. And it's like, yeah, it breaks down that it's actually harder to crack than like an alphanumeric symbol password. And I'm like, to a degree, maybe. But ultimately, alphanumeric with symbols gives a very wide range of possible passwords. But all you can really do is use a tool, a password manager, to copy and paste those because you're never going to remember them. But you can do that process and get a lot of variability between all your different password types. So it's nice. It's nice in that it lets you have options, but it's so impossible to remember those. So why do it? I don't know. Passwords are great, but they suck at the same time. There's always somebody that wants your password. And the more difficult you make it for yourself, the more difficult you're making it for yourself and not them. It feels like the people that want your password will find a way to get it while you suffer. You know, so silly. Yeah. Yeah, this is making some really pretty colors. I'm thinking I might want to do that trick where you do water droplets, right? It's so hard to do because it just wants to splash everywhere. Ooh. I use my password as a tool for manifestation. What does that mean? Like, I bet that would give it away if you explained why you said that. Like, every day we get around 5 people, different people that ask for a password reset because they forget. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've worked years of help desk, so I get that completely. It happens all the time, right? And it takes all kinds. Like, some of the people we work with are retail people. So, like, one person comes in, doesn't remember the password. They ask for a reset. They don't tell the shift after them, and they ask for a reset because nobody told them what the password was, and we don't know. We shouldn't know. It's very, very silly. So if I want to manifest like I want a cat in July 26th, that would be whoa. I want a cat in J26. Oh, I see what you mean. You make like sentences and you shorten them in a way that you can remember. Oh, it was a phrase. And then you can recreate your password. Yeah, I get that. I would say what I do, but I don't want to give away my process. And it's entirely because I don't want it to be easy to figure out my passwords. So, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily make it easy, but at the same time, it wouldn't be impossible to sleuth it. I mean, a portion of it at least. All right. Plus, anytime, I was like, every time anything does a handshake and gives a password, then it's putting that energy out to the universe. Ah, I see what you mean. Like, I wish I had $1 million. I only say that because Bare Naked Ladies is playing right now in my ear. Um, so if I said, if I had $1 million, I'd be rich, and I turn that into a password, then I'm both putting it out into the world, and it's a password I can hopefully remember. Smart. That's smart. Okay. And let's get some of my blue options right there. Okay. I love live sarcasm drips. My users that still have sticky notes with their current password under the keyboard. Oh, it happens so very much. They think they're being sneaky putting it under the keyboard, but it's like everybody knows that. Everybody knows that trick. It's not even a trick at this point. Whoops. Well, that's there now. Oh, that's there now. Yeah, people are silly. And what's crazy is they never change. They never change what they do. They never change doing the wrong thing. They repeat their mistakes. Your problem children are always the same problem children until they do something so drastic. And then you wonder why they haven't been fired from the company. Ask me how I know. Um, yeah, it's crazy. Wow. I just had a flashback to remembering, I used to work for a casino company in Las Vegas, and I used to help the people in the corporate offices there. So like we had IT teams that handled every property and then a separate group of people that took care of the corporate offices, right? So I would switch between a variety of places. And then for a little while, I did a stint at the corporate office and helped out the group of people there in corporate. Well, one of the people that was there was an executive administrator. So putting out there into the ether, any IT person that has ever had to work with a overprivileged older executive administrator who's been doing it for 30 years and thinks they know everything and doesn't. There's a difference because there's some that do and are great people, probably more than you would imagine. But one in particular that I had was the worst. And it was during the era where Microsoft was shifting from the old version of Microsoft Office to the versions with the ribbon. And they hated the ribbon interface. A lot of people hated it until they got used to it and realized, oh, wait, it's actually pretty good. Right. She was vehement that she was not going to go into that process. She was not going to use it. She was ensuring she was never going to change from it. And she called her boss in, which just happened to be the CEO of the company, to say, no, we're not changing her computer until it got to the point where she was the only person left in the company on the ancient, decrepit, insecure software, and someone higher up in IT security forced the hand to make her change. And she griped about it to no end. And then she asked everybody, how do you change it back? How do you change it back? How do you change it back? And the answer had to be, sorry, you don't. You have to move forward with the times. Unfortunately, we are not changing anything. This is what you've got to deal with. And every time someone said that, she got pissy about it and tried to use that as leverage to make the change happen. Oh, they were nasty and told me that I couldn't have what I wanted. Boo hoo, poor me, right? One of those people. So they're out there, and I can talk about her because I don't even remember her name. Boy, oh boy, was she a royal pain in the ass. I mean, probably one of the worst pains I've ever had to deal with. Very few people could push me to the point of deciding how am I getting out of this? Is it going to be tears? Is it going to be cussing the bitch out? Is it going to be just defeat? Is it going to be finding a snarky but perfect business appropriate response, which is the option I always try to go for and still do? Um, I try to, I've said this before, I try to go for the response that is as business appropriate as possible, but makes the person feel like the idiot that they are. And that usually starts with repeating back to them the stupid thing that they said when like verifying what you're doing for them. I haven't really had to do that for years, especially in my current role. But previously, yeah, that was a thing. I had to absolutely, positively uh, deal with these people. And I'm glad I do not have to do that. I don't want to say any more because you never know what the future will hold. But currently, I do not have to worry about that. At most, I have vendors. I have to deal with that. And even then, it's not really that bad. Okay, let's do this. Come on. A little bit of green gold. A little darker green gold. We go on the big one next to it. Bye, it's my one nothing. And some blue, some indigo. Some of whatever this mix ended up being, which is basically the same thing. I do not look forward to all January 26th because I am upgrading all computers to Windows 11. I know late, yeah, it is. But I will be on the receiving end of a lot of complaining and confusion. I get you. Are you having to manually install, or are you going to be doing it through like what's this, like Windows Update, just pushing it that way? Or I'm curious, just for my own knowledge. We've almost entirely changed over to Windows 11. There's only a handful of people who are still on Windows 10. Uh, I could probably count on one hand. Manual? Why? Is it just because you don't have the technology purchased to be able to handle managing it automatically, or is it just a for safety we have to do it manually kind of thing? Are you like re-imaging a laptop for them and doing it? Or are you literally doing like an upgrade in place? Because sometimes the upgrade in place is easier, especially if they back up everything and it all works smoothly afterward. It's really not terrible an upgrade. I've done a few of them and they work really well. Manual for safety, yeah. Oh, what a pain. What a pain. It's almost easier just to buy new computers that come with it and say, here you go. Yeah, upgrade in place has been working really well. The only time it doesn't is if a system wasn't really built for Windows 10 in the first place and we upgraded it to that in the past. And it was kind of slow. But typically everything was pretty fine. Nothing really failed too badly. Excuse me. I've got one over there. Let's do that guy. Okay. Let's do a couple more of these dots interspersed in some places that make sense. And then we will let all of this dry and, yep, let all this dry and then start figuring out how we're going to even think, figure out how we're going to draw in all of the little dots or the blobs. Right, let's do some of you. Let's do some of you. Yeah, most of our upgrading in place has been pretty smooth. The only things we had issues with, like I mentioned, were scenarios where the hardware was already kind of old to begin with, and we upgraded them to Windows 10 by doing that back in the day by doing the free Windows 7 to 10 upgrade. But they weren't really powerful enough machines to handle it. And when we put Windows 11 on there, it worked, but it wasn't great. It wasn't totally smooth. It is easier just to end up replacing those machines afterward. I agree. So far, we already know out of 50 computers, 6 are incompatible. So those will be replaced as soon as possible with brand new, already installed Windows 11 machines. Perfect. If it works. It's funny, like in jest, I mean, completely in jest, we were considering moving all users to Linux and realized that the training process for that would be obscene and not worth it. Even though it would be far more secure, it runs on everything. The learning curve would have been too difficult for everybody. Many dots. Yeah. Like we could have had really much finer controls, but trying to find an exact solution for literally every possible application was going to prove to be a nightmare. Like we would be able to secure it, we'd be able to remotely manage it, but users were going to be the problem, you know? And it didn't feel good to go through that process. My users would disown me and the entire team. Yeah. Right. Right. Like the idea of it sounds good, but the only environment it would work in would be like an all IT environment, like devs and things like that. Right. All right. I think I was in enough damage with the paint part of this. So I'm going to go ahead and put my brush up for a little bit and I'm going to mute and whip out the dryer and have some coffee. So feel free to take a break if you want to have some coffee, tea, whatever you want at this time of night, afternoon. Let me go ahead and get, whoa, almost pushed it right off the table. Let's go ahead and get the rest of this drying. These dots are going to take longer because they're literally water droplets. So it might be a minute. All right. I'm back. Sorry about that. So that was going to take an eternity to dry. Forgot about that from the last time I did it. That the water drops that I do, they're cute. But they're a pain to do, and I literally have to let them sit and dry, or the amount of heat is going to burn the pigment if I keep it on there. So I'm just leaving it alone. So back to this. Uh, what am I going to do? Well, that is a damn good question, isn't it? So what I need, do I have that? Where did I put them? Uh, what do you think? Is it here? No. Is it here? Also no. Is it here? Uh, that's a negative. How about here? I think so. Not, not use. Okay. Uh, yeah, here we go. At least the same. Let's see. Oh, they're slightly different, but this one's more accurate, I think. Yep. Okay. Except for whatever the hell that is. Oh, this one might even be better just for the sake of the lines. Yeah, this one's a bit more abstract, and this one's a bit more. It's so weird. The ship is more accurate in this one, but the lines around it are less so. But this one, they're far more accurate. Okay, so my goal here is to use this as kind of an angle finder, right? So the ship is basically here. So I need to make some lines that show it approaching that area back there. So I need to show some warp lines of it kind of going here. So it's like I'm at warp heading toward this vicinity. So I need, basically, it looks like the lines are parallel with the engine over here, and they're parallel with the engine on this side. So if I do, I'll keep this nearby. A ruler. So pros and cons. I don't have a yardstick. I have a regular ruler, so I will have an issue when it comes to being able to figure out the best warp lines. And I don't want to go too nuts because I need to show the perspective and it needs to change. You know, it would be best string or like a huge compass. We have little ones, we don't have big ones. I wonder, can I cheat? Yes. Yes, I think I can. I don't need a ruler because I don't need to measure the distance. I just need a straight edge. So how about, get out here, give me this. I cheat using this. I might be able to cheat using this. If I give myself a center line up here and I can figure out the best possible center line that's between parallel here and parallel on this side, I can keep this side kind of hammered down and just do like here and do a line and then here and do another line, but offset a little bit, and then just work my way down and just have like a point of reference, not point of reference, vanishing point. That's the word. Up in the far corner here. But I don't want it to be headed toward the distance. I want it to be headed toward the nebula. So if I have it heading toward the nebula, well, it's actually parallel there, but it's not parallel here. So I can maybe have it going toward the bottom part of the nebula, maybe down here somewhere. So it's out of parallel here. It's out of parallel here. See, like the distance, it'll be the most parallel here. So it's out by that much there. It's out by the same amount here. So I can probably have the vanishing point be here, like everything's warping toward that. But that would feel weird, wouldn't it? So like how much warp lines do I actually need? I should have thought about this before I did the nebula. Because then I could have made the vanishing point be the point they're going to come out of warp. Vaguely. Well, here's what I can do. I can do kind of like the angle I'm looking at now and do incredibly faint warp lines further away because you don't really need to see them there. You need to see it more up close where the ship is actually traveling at warp. So I can probably fake it a little bit and just do like I'm planning and just have it be more from the distance and don't worry about really showing all the lines. Just get some of them. And I want it to be kind of even in between. So one engine is there. One engine is there. I think that's basically what I'm looking at doing. So that begs the question, how am I going to do warp lines? I don't want it to be obvious. Like I want it to be there, but I don't want it to be paint. It's going to be too uneven if I do paint for the warp line. So I think I will do my gel pens that I've got here. If I do it on the tape, that's fairly thick, but not terrible. I can do that. And we're just going to see how it goes. That's scary words to say. So if I do it like this and go along here and do some lines and then hold it down and shift it and get a couple perspective lines, I think I can get away with doing the warp line effect and making it just be lines. So let's try that. And I'm not going to go the whole way. Oh my God, this is scary. Commit. Okay. My God, this is scary. And then move. And I managed that we. I suppose start moving on the bus. Tight pantyhose around my neck. You like the world. Be right. So far, we're doing all right. I was just really scared to begin with because I couldn't see it. And I've made a few mistakes, but I'm just going to end up turning those into stars, I think, and I'll cover it up. Okay. I think I'm going to do a little bit of some manual adjustment because I can't keep the pivot down that way, but I need some lines down here. So I'm going to connect the dots. Yeah. I think that turned out really well. Some nice little warp lines showing the path that we're taking. And I'll need to do some manual stars in the areas where I did a little hook thing going on there. And then we'll do our flick those stars using the toothbrush, and then some larger ones with more intent. And I think we'll have ourselves a little starscape. Well, that turned out better than I was hoping or expecting. I was hoping for the best and expecting the worst. Get in there. Go back. Go where I told you to go. Back. Okay, well, do what you want then. All right. So on dump the pen, I need get in there. All right. The smallest round brush. I should add that after. Yeah. Okay. Let's oh, I didn't add anything up here. See if there's any sort of additional color look I can add to this. I'm just gonna see a little bit of arranging. Just gonna scrub a little bit of this in some spots. Mr. None, all things fine, even though you're good. No, I leave it alone. God, cobalt. How about we look into stars? Okay, so to do stars, have this out and ready to go for weeks now. But my white acrylic ink, anybody who's never used it before, it looks like this. Comes in a glass jar. This particular brand is from Artist Loft, which I think was from Michael's. And this has a little eyedropper stopper or eyedropper as the applicator. So we're gonna grab a little bit of that, put it in my container. That should be plenty for canvas this size. So to start with, I'm going to wet my brush a little bit. Get a little bit of the white acrylic and kind of dry it off in the dry part. Let's see if I can just kind of eyeball. Okay, so that one I think will be okay. I can adjust that one. But this one right here. Just try to round that one off a little bit. And this guy. Okay. Well, that'd be the biggest plain white blob in here. Do it a little bit brighter. Okay. All the rest of them, I think I can cover up and be just fine. Yep. All right. So fine mist first. Let's clean my brush out thoroughly so I don't keep any acrylic paint on there because it will never come out. Okay. And let me grab a toothbrush, which is normally over there, and I moved it to get out of the way. I think it is. There it is. Right here. I'm going to add some water to this. Oh, I'm not doing pure acrylic. It's a little bit watery this way. And I'm going to start with my fine stars. So let's start in a safe area. Okay. So some of these I do want on top of the nebula. And I've got to make sure I don't drip it. I have to keep checking it because when you're flicking it with your thumb, some of the paint likes to go to the tip of the brush and it'll come off in a big glob if you're not careful, like I did right there. So I just go back and I dab my thumb and the tip of that brush where it could build up on the paper towel. And then I can always go back for more if I need it. Okay, I think that's enough with the brush. I don't want to go too heavy with stars. And clean it in my thumb. And had much of it seemed to be left. But can you do that? All right, put that over here for now. And now for the crazy part. Let's get a bigger round brush and my small brush that I was using earlier with some more water. I'm going to pick up some of the white acrylic in here. And I am going to make sure I don't have a gawping amount of it on there. And I'm going to smack it on the side of my thicker handled brush to get some larger dots of stars. I want it to be around the outer edge. I don't want it to be on top of the nebula because there should be fewer large stars, I think, approaching the nebula. And try to vary the angle that you're slapping the brushes against each other so they don't all show the same orientation because they tend to want to do lines of dots instead of individual splots, like splatches. So if they're all from the same perspective that you're holding them, you end up with a bit of a mess. They all end up looking more like they came from the same direction, like they did. If you want more small dots, get a little closer to the paper and do lighter taps repeatedly. You can have a couple like groupings. But if you want like really big, lay it down kind of heavy and do like one good smack. And you tend to have more like directed flow of stars. I think that's more than enough. I don't want it to be overloaded with stars. I'm gonna stop there. Clean my brush off. And I'm gonna dry off my brush. And I'm actually going to try to clean up some of this. Um, some of these went a little too in a direction. I don't think I'm not gonna be able to do so much to clean it up. All right, I'm gonna stop there with that. I don't want to mess with this. But good news is this is light enough that I can hit this with the heat gun and not be afraid about making a big mess. Let me put this brush back. Okay. Put the star mixture up. Put the brush up. All right. And I, of course, got some on the heat gun, so I'm going to try to get off what I can. I think it's just going to be stained forever. I'm just going to get a little bit more every time. That's fine. All right. So let's dry it off. And I realize I don't really like this one line right here so much. And because that's the gel ink pen, I don't think I could do anything to remove it. So I'm trying to think like, what can I do to kind of cover that up and make it look like I meant to do something else there? I don't think I really can. Because anything I do is going to be either too thick or too transparent. I'm not going to be able to really cover that line up too very much. So I think I'm just going to leave it. But that said, I think I can peel the masking fluid. I'm telling you, I have the hardest time remembering that that's called masking fluid. I don't know why. Anywho, uh, yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. Aside from, just ignore that. It's not too bad. I think, yeah, let's peel this up. And we're definitely not painting the ship today, but we can at least reveal the white background of the ship. And because some of the white stars are probably not fully dry yet, I'm trying to just rub on the ship, the paper where the ship is, and not over the area where the stars and the space are. And I'm just kind of rubbing it with my finger and kind of rolling it up the page. There's a lot of ways to do this to take it off, but so I don't like rip the paper, I'm not going to grab it and yank. That would be silly. Not that trade over there. It's easy to drawing. I think that what we were working on earlier is drying enough that I can probably go grab it and hit it with the heat gun again. I just seem to see piles of water I'm missing off of it now. Okay, don't rush it. Just a little bit more at a time. Okay. You have some coffee. I haven't had anything for a minute. I just wanted to get a bulk of that off there so I'm not rolling up the whole thing. Hey guys, wow, this is really coming out great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with it. A rare win for me to be happy about something, I know, but yes, I am actually happy with it. The warp lines really worked. Yeah, it did. Except for this one here, I'm not quite sure what to do with this guy, but I mean, whatever. I'm not unhappy with it. Yeah, if you didn't see how I did it, I used my another one of my clipboards, and I set the clipboard down, and I kind of anchored it and turned it by keeping the one corner up in the top right where the vanishing point is, and I just brought it over a little bit, did some lines with a white gel pen, and then I just added a bunch of them, and they came out really well. It is almost 2 hours in. I think after this, we'll show how the drawing process is going on the other bit, and then we will stop and then pick up on this next time. Both our Voyager and our cute little blobbies. I'll probably end up, I think next time I'm going to break out the masking fluid and reapply over areas that I do not want to color the hull of the ship, the metal, the outer casing of the ship, right? Because I want to be able to preserve finer details I don't want to shine through, like the reds and the blues on all of the area that are going to be lit up. Anything that's going to be like white, anything that's going to be like really bright reflections. Just anything that I want to preserve and not over darken by mistake. So I will work next time on doing some fine masking of areas that I want to preserve, and paint the hull around it. And then peel that back when we're ready and paint all of the last final details. And then I think we'll finish it off with pen. Black pen for any fine line details that need some fine line. White pen for like windows that need to be lit up. Things like that, right? Did a really good job on the ship. Thank you. Yeah, and you know what's interesting about the ship itself? I wasn't caring quite so much about ensuring that it is a perfect representation. I expected it was going to be kind of cartoony, comic book strippy in a way, where the lines were kind of uneven because I was just vaguely tracing it. And even that was done from like a cartoon version of the ship from the Star Trek Lower Decks TV show that I put into ChatGPT and said, "Can you make me a plain black and white outline of it?" And it kind of created what it wanted. So I had to adjust on the fly in some areas. So it's not perfect, but it's 95% of the way there for accuracy. And I'm happy with that. So yeah, that came out pretty well. This over here, let's see how we're drawing. Yeah, it's still pretty wet. Oh, we ripped an earpiece out. But this is drying up fairly well. I'm going to let it finish drying, and next time we'll come back and look at it, and we can start adding some little details like our little faces and outlines and whatnot. But all of these smaller dots are still pretty wet. But all the blobby things are going to turn into like people and creatures, and whatever we see in them, we'll figure it out. The colors came out really nice in a lot of these. So I'm pretty happy with how those look and how they blended and how things went wonky and all that. So yeah, we'll play with that and working some more on Voyager next time. But until then, I think I will head out. So I guess the question is, when is next time? So I know ads are going right now. That's okay. We'll just DM her through it. I haven't decided. It's still a holiday week. New Year's is on Thursday. And I've got a 4-day weekend, so I might choose not to paint. I might play a game sometime during the weekend, maybe on Thursday, maybe Wednesday night. I might even go a day early and game or something in the evening on Wednesday when I get off. And then that way I can just have my all 4 days off in a row, and I'll be back next week on Monday after that. We'll see. That sounds like a good plan to me. So that's probably what I'll do. Subject to change, but I think I will do that. I think I'll play some sort of game on Wednesday. I don't know what yet, but I'll plan something and figure out what I'm going to do, and then paint again on Monday. And then I think we'll be back to our regularly scheduled Monday, Thursday painting from then on, because there won't be any holidays getting in my way. So I'll probably just be painting after work Monday, Thursday, like normal. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let me go ahead and do the shout outs. And I'm going to head on out of here. First up, we have ourselves a Goddess Whispers. In DDL. Yep. Please check out, totally smacked my leg. Arm thing. Please check out Goddess Whispers. She is absolutely amazing at all she does. She primarily crafts with yarn or paint or a variety of materials that she finds, or she games. Most recently, been doing a lot of gaming. So please check her out. I absolutely love everything she does. And Desert Dragon Lover is an absolutely amazing watercolorist. Like, I don't feel I am incredibly skilled. If it was a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 2, and improving every day. Uh, DDL, I feel she is more like an 8.9 in achieving stardom. Like, she's on her way up. So please check them both out if you want to see someone who actually knows what they're doing. But until then, you guys have a great rest of your night. All right, got us. See you later. Bye, guys.